Two guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackey and Judd on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
Little scoop session here with our guy Darren Doogie Wolfson, presented in part by Dennis Kirk. Dennis Kirk is here for riding season. Today is a glorious day to be out on, I don't know, a motorcycle, an ATV, a UTV. Go to get your little iced coffee or your whiskey diet that Declan looks like he's consuming.
Cold brew. Cold brew. I'm out of hot coffee.
His rum and
Amazon
Coke.
Primed later this afternoon. I've had to drink my wife's cold brew for the last few days. It's been hell. I don't mind cold brew.
Whatever
It's
gets
still
you
too
by,
cold.
Sure.
Nothing gets old decks going on a Tuesday morning like a rum and Coke to start the day. Arg. Dennis Kirk is here with same-day shipping on orders placed before 6 p.m. Central Time. Free shipping on orders that are over $89. All the top brands with the most stock available compared to their competitors. Go to DennisKirk.com. Doogie from the 5 Eyewitness News Sports Department. Happy
I'm
draft
here,
week.
gentlemen. Cold brew. That sounds pretty good. Wild Vegas tonight goes to like 3 overtimes, ends at 3 in the morning.
Oh, yes.
Need that cold brew.
There will be a Judd's hockey show immediately following the game, no matter what happens.
I can't wait. You will be so punch drunk. I will tune in. I will be up. I think I'll be up. Well, like 40% chance I'm up. But you know what? If I am tuning in. 3 a.m. Judd and AJ breaking down a Vegas Game 2 victory.
Clothespins holding their eyes open.
You know what the
It's
key
gonna
is,
be great.
boys? A little nap. I took one on Sunday, just a little nap. Just get a nap in, and I felt great.
Yeah.
I've lost all ability to nap. I can't do it. I'd love to. Like, I have a window here, late morning, early afternoon. Impossible. I can't do it. It's not in my DNA.
Yeah. It's tough out there for those non-nappers. You know, it's tough to extend your day. Dukes, let's dive into the Vikings scoop bag here. So JJ McCarthy, full go, according to Kevin O'Connell, as the voluntary workouts begin. These are like weight room, film room, and then like if JJ wants to corral the receivers and throw some passes, it can't be like organized on-field activities. Those are later on that's phase 2, as Judd informed us on Purple Daily. But now that the team is kind of congregating back together, where do you want to start on this draft week?
Well, I mean, encouraging news on Monday. I was at TCO on Monday to hear about Christian Darrisaw up to running and lifting. Now, when repairing an ACL and an MCL, and hey, remember, the injury happened on October 24th, but because of needing the swelling to go down, the surgery was weeks later. So it's still aggressive to think he'll be ready to go week 1. But those who have seen him at TCO say, pep in his step, smile on his face, like doing incredibly well. So that is encouraging. Mekhi Blackmon, I've been told, is ready to go. Now, there's no reason to go full steam ahead here. Phase 1, even phase 2, the ACL injury, late July, but there will be nothing holding him back once those pads come on in late July for 2025 training camp. Javon Hargrave, Will Fries, limited early, but all signs point to them being okay come training camp and no reason to have them do anything crazy this time of the year. Yeah, McCarthy, a full go. And that's it on the injury front. So things are looking pretty good overall on the health front. Najee Thompson, by the way, ready to go. That wasn't a name that came up on Monday, but my own intel says Najee Thompson, special teams ace, he is good to go. So the Vikings are doing well in that regard. I am trying to figure out, Phil, so many smoke screens. What is legit? What isn't legit? Plenty of league people willing to share information, but it's on us to figure out what is true, what isn't true. And there are not many certainties in this draft, even at the top. Like, we think Cam Ward is going 1. Outside of that, are there any certainties? Maybe Travis Hunter goes 2. Maybe Abdul Carter goes 3. Maybe the draft does start at pick 4. But I'm not even sure we can sit here on Tuesday morning and say all of that with 100% certainty. So when thinking about pick 24, there is so much gray area. One thing I do firmly believe, though, is that Kwesi with the 4 picks, fewest of any team, his sweet spot is 6 picks. So how does he go from 4 to 6? Clearly interest in moving back, but it takes 2 to tango. How do you move back from 24? Is it the Chiefs at 31? Is it the Browns at 33? Is it the Giants at 34? Is it the Saints if they pass on a quarterback at 9, looking to come up from pick 40? Would the Vikings go from 24 to 40? These are all things that are being weighed in Egan. Certainly conversations external as well. Like you think about that Kwesi Andrew Barry relationship. Trust me, there's been dialogue with the Cleveland Browns. And so I do believe that there is interest in moving back from 24. But like what I don't know is, let's say the defensive tackle from Mississippi, Nolan, falls to 24. Do they value him more than, let's say, Gray Zabel? Like I do think there are Gray Zabel fans in Egan. If Gray Zabel is the pick on Thursday night at pick 24, I will not be surprised whatsoever. But like, do they prefer Nolan or Derek Harmon over Gray Zabel? That's what's hard to figure out. But clearly interest in upgrading the left guard position. That's another thing that I feel pretty confident about.
What makes this draft, I think, so intriguing, too, is the lack of quality quarterback depth at all. And so it's basically forcing more question marks because, you know, a year ago we had a pretty damn good idea that the 3 QBs that went early were going. So you've got a lot less locked in. And if Cam Ward doesn't go 1, nothing is locked in. But I think where the Vikings are at, too, is I think it's a lot more fluid than ordinary for them because that uncertainty means that a team that might want to pounce on a guy that falls at 24, that team doesn't know if that guy's going to get there, right? So my guess is that the phones are ringing off the hook, that there's a lot of talk going back and forth based on, okay, if Cleveland has a guy get to 24 that they absolutely love, they will give the Vikings a pretty good haul. But if that guy's not there, so I think we enter this draft because of the quarterback depth or lack thereof with more question marks than ordinary, which for mockers is hell, but I think for us is way more fun.
Oh, it's a ton of fun, but it also opens up the uncertainty of, like, what's the over-under on quarterbacks going in the first round? The number in Vegas is 2.5. Do you feel confident going over 2.5? Heck, I don't even know for sure that Shedeur Sanders is going first round. I think he is. So I think 2 go in the first round. Do I know if Dart is going in the first? Do I know if Milroe is going in the first? That is a perfect over-under number on quarterbacks in the first round, 2.5. That does seem like the ideal scenario, though, that if somehow Sanders goes below Pittsburgh at 21, is sitting there on the board at 24, whether it's New Orleans or Cleveland or someone else coming up to that spot, with the Vikings being plenty comfortable moving back. I mean, you continue to talk to people. There isn't a whole lot of separation pick 10 to pick 60. Like, really, like how these teams have these players stacked. Like, you may talk to one team that has a player, mid first round. Another team might have that player early to mid second round. Like, there isn't a whole lot of separation across the board, at least from my standpoint, from what I can gather, between picks 10 and 60. And so the Vikings, with no clear need, have an opportunity to move back if they can, accumulate an extra pick or 2, get to that sweet spot of 6 perhaps, and go any number of directions. Like, you move back, that to me opened up the possibility of, heck, does the linebacker Campbell from Alabama somehow fall? Some medical question marks there. Like, I can make a case if you move back, you could go linebacker. I don't think you go linebacker necessarily at 24 unless you love Campbell. Yes, we all get left guard. I still think the idea is to help JJ McCarthy as much as possible with that first pick. But if you move back, if you get another top 100 pick, you could go any number of directions. And I'm telling you, these are the conversations taking place in Egan right now.
Hey, Kevin O'Connell made some interesting comments about the quarterback room and just the lack of bodies in it. Because we sit here on the outside, and every time for the last month and a half, every time a noteworthy QB2 name comes off the board, we're like, oh, there's another one the Vikings potentially missed out on. But they've just sort of been calmly sitting back and surveying. No panic. as Judd said on Purple Daily today, they have a plan. We just don't know specifically what it is. And he said, Kevin O'Connell, we've been patient and really evaluated a lot of the different ways we could add a quarterback or two. There's potential trades, free agency, there's the draft. So they seem like they have just kind of a calm confidence about. He also mentioned that they will complete the room and will still have a competitive situation in there, however you look at it. Adam Schefter then came out and reported in the last 48 hours that the Falcons are asking for teams potentially trading for Cousins, either as a QB1 or a QB2, to pay $20 million of the $45 million worth of guarantees left. No team has been willing to do that, but he speculates, assuming with some educated backing here, that a team might be willing to pay $10 million of the guarantees. And he mentioned specifically the Steelers and the Vikings as teams that could do that. So that's interesting when Schefter floats a specific team, and KOC has this sort of calm confidence about filling out that room. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on QB2 as it stands today?
Well, I mean, we've brought up the possibility of Cousins. We certainly have brought up the possibility of a trade. I don't think it was an accident that KOC said trade. I can also see them signing a priority free agent right after the draft. So that room goes from 2 to 4. Somebody like Max Brosmer, the former Gopher, who had an impressive visit, I'm told, to TCO. If Max doesn't get drafted, I think Max is on the Vikings' radar. So you could sign a priority free agent. Trust me, the Vikings are going to be uber aggressive. They have a lot to sell, not only roster spot-wise, but just the culture they've built, everything. Trust me, the Vikings are going to be uber aggressive on Saturday afternoon. Once the draft ends, there are going to be a number of good players that do not get drafted. The COVID year, just a lot of things. There are a lot of players that have draft grades, not enough picks. And so I promise the Vikings are going to be very aggressive on Saturday afternoon. But Cousins makes all sorts of sense. It was not a bitter divorce. Now, to me, it's always been the number. We've discussed this, Phil. What is the number? Yeah, I don't think the Vikings would pay 20. Do I think the Vikings, if they could acquire Kirk Cousins for a minimal draft choice, 2026, and it's $10 million? I could see that. Absolutely could see that. And do I think Cousins would come back here? I do. Like, that makes some sense to me. I also think the Sam Howell possibility, we should still talk about that. But like a trade, yes. Like all these free agents, even Easton Stick coming off the board earlier this week. Like the Vikings weren't in on Stick. Yeah, Flacco was hoping to be here, connection to Fries, connection to Kelly, but like it wasn't reciprocated. And so it's not like the Vikings feel like they lost out on Joe Flacco. Not like the Vikings feel like they lost out on Drew Lock. And so, yeah, we see these names come off the board and we're like, whoa, if they wanted Carson Wentz, they would have signed Carson Wentz by now. Just saying. You do some background on Carson Wentz, I don't see it. I don't. I haven't seen it going back a number of weeks. So to me, a trade makes all sorts of sense. And I certainly am not dismissing the idea of a Kirk Cousins reunion.
So, Dukes, I think the whole thing with the backup quarterback also started when Daniel Jones said no. Because yes. We've talked about that. They wanted Jones.
That's who they wanted. Yes.
And he said no. But since then, I think we've been sniffing around the wrong thing. I think the free agent class was never the thing now. Because they're so calculated. O'Connell is not going to be like, oh, I really wanted Joe Flacco, which you have reported a number of times now. They did not. So I think it is a trade. And I guess my only question is there a deal to be worked out with Kirk in the Vikings' mind? Because if Kirk's willing to come back here as the backup, to your point, it not only was not a bitter divorce, but I would say that O'Connell and Cousins, as far as I know, are on as good a terms as they've ever been, that they have definitely talked. I mean, O'Connell does, there's no question, and it comes out occasionally, a ton of back channeling to quarterbacks, right? Guys get benched. Oh, I talked to that guy. There's just a lot of stuff there. So I think the question is this: if Kirk is willing to accept that, if they can make a trade, at this point in time, it might not be my first choice personally, but I'm not going to be surprised one bit.
Well, what would be your first choice? I'd be pretty open-minded to Kirk Cousins being the number 2 quarterback. What would be the issue? You think there would be interference with
Judd,
JJ?
Yeah.
That JJ would take that the wrong way?
Yeah, Judd.
Kirk Cousins as the number 2 quarterback here makes all sorts of
here's
sense.
what it is.
Unless you
Yeah.
think health-wise he's a disaster. That if
I told
JJ
Phil.
even has to miss a game or two, that Cousins just health-wise is not ready to play.
Explain yourself.
Yeah, thank you very much. I told Phil this on PD today. My concern is this. I think Kirk is shell-shocked enough right now that he might agree to come back as the backup. But as things progress, Kirk's presence there, I think Kirk could get more confident, which he's going to get his confidence back at some point in time. Think that he can play. Let's say JJ throws 3 picks in a game. Now the fan base is like, well, I mean, you got Kirk Cousins there. I would prefer a guy like O'Connell personally. But again, I don't think Kevin O'Connell agrees with me. I think O'Connell thinks, oh, hell yeah, Kirk Cousins. So
Well, but hold on though.
Zero
Are you saying you don't want like JJ throwing 3 picks and people getting anxious about it? Are you saying that you don't want a qualified player to jump in if needed to be able to pilot this thing for a team that won 14 games last year? Or are you saying that you don't specifically want it to be Kirk?
I'm saying I don't specifically want it to be Kirk. I think a guy like O'Connell could step in, or I'm sorry, Aiden O'Connell could step in for Kevin O'Connell and start, and Kevin O'Connell has shown that he can guide a quarterback pretty damn well. I just think the presence of Kirk would create, I mean, it would be great for us. Don't get me wrong, for the media, it'd be fantastic because we could create controversy out of nothing. But because of that, he would not be my first choice. But I don't think Kevin O'Connell agrees with anything I just said.
Okay, so what we're thinking is, like, it's one of 3: Kirk Cousins, Sam Howell, or Aiden O'Connell.
I'm throwing it out there as I don't know.
I don't think
I'm
it's
just
Will
throwing
Levis.
Seifert threw those
think
names
he's
out
available.
too.
Yeah, I don't think it's Will Levis.
I'm throwing out 3 names for you.
Well,
Yeah, you're not, and it's like
those 3 make sense.
Aiden O'Connell is still, I think, QB2 behind Geno Smith and has 2 years left on his rookie deal. So that's not like a guarantee that they trade him because they need a QB2 there. Sam Howell seems like the most available because he's now QB3 in Seattle.
Oh, he's available.
He has 1 year left on his deal. Like, if they could get a 6th-round pick for him, because he's going to walk anyways. So then the question is, if I said to you guys, all right, it's Tannehill who hasn't played in 2 years, it's Cousins coming off of the Atlanta experience, or it's Sam Howell who led the league a couple years ago in sack rate and threw 20 interceptions or whatever it was. There's no perfect answer there. I'd probably put Tannehill number 1 on that list, to be honest with you guys.
I would put Cousins number 1 on that list.
Okay.
If Tannehill was going to
I'm
sign
not saying
here, he's
Tannehill
signed
is
by
not
now,
on their
right, dudes?
radar. I think, yeah, I do. Yeah, with no compensatory pick issue. Yeah, I mean, I think if Tannehill was the guy, he's already in the building. Now, if they swing and miss and he's still sitting out there, I'm not saying like 0% chance at this point, but I don't sense that Ryan Tannehill is atop their list. Put it that way.
The biggest thing for me, as I've said a couple times in the last month with Kirk, is, and Schefter kind of alluded to, if you pick up more of the guarantees and relieve the Falcons of some of that cap pressure, then you might have a better chance of getting yours over in the draft compensation department. He kind of made it sound like you'd have to give up less draft compensation to get Cousins. And I would say, wait a second. So I'm taking a problem off your hands. I'm giving you cap relief, and he has the leverage to waive his no trade clause or not. The Falcons have zero leverage in that discussion. I want something else for us to make. We're going to give you money. We're going to convince Kirk to waive his no trade clause. You give us draft capital in addition to that, and we can facilitate this. Just like the Browns and the Texans with the Brock Osweiler deal from like 6 years ago. I'd play hardball with him.
Complication, though, right? Yeah, I mean, you could, but that's where a deal, just to me, has never been easy to actually get across the finish line. But like the no trade part of this, I don't think that's an issue. I don't. Like, I think, I'm telling you, it makes a lot of sense. It really does. You know, that's the bottom line to me. Like, yes.
What do we think caused the Browns? Because the Browns had to be in, right? And they quickly, if they were, got out. Do we think it's the draft compensation? Do we think it's the fact that the Falcons did try to hoist $20 million freaking dollars of that contract on the Browns? Like, I'd be curious because
Is it Kirk not wanting to go to Cleveland?
That could be it. I'm just saying, at the end of the day, in my opinion, the Browns made the most sense. Stefanski, chance to start for sure. Because the Steelers make a ton of sense, but it's the unknown. And it's also, and this is the one thing beyond being drafted by Washington, it's also the fact that Kirk wouldn't have had control there. Like, he doesn't know the coach well. He doesn't really. So, like, I feel like Kirk is very into controlling his fate, right? Which is also why I could see him coming back here, because I think it's established that he and Kevin O'Connell have a very good relationship. And I think it's safe to say that Kirk Cousins' family likes it a lot here.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. All encompassing. Yes. Okay. So, like, we almost have talked this into reality. Just about. Well, yeah, I mean, Cleveland, but okay,
like
Cleveland,
not
an option. I get it that Pittsburgh's been floated,
right?
But Minnesota makes a whole lot more sense than Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it makes a lot of sense. I'm not saying it's 100% right. I mean, this week there isn't a whole lot of certainty all around the league, but the idea of Kirk coming back here, it's not as far-fetched as maybe some people think. How about that?
Yeah. We'll get to the rest of Doogie Scoops. There is a certainty this week. It's if you go to the Meadows at Mystic, you're going to probably have a really good time. I think we can say that's a certainty.
Absolutely. I mean, you can be like me. A couple years ago, went there. They put me on camera. What do? I drill a 50. See, Rory, I can finish this out.
Look at your little elastic bottom golf pants, too.
Yep.
Take 24.
Yep. Joggers. No, I'm dead. This was one take. This was the first take. And even my point at the camera here was, are you kidding me?
It was very Dante DiVincenzo like. He knew where the hard cam was after he cashes it.
Just put it in my veins at the Meadows at Mystic Lake. Golfthemeadows.com to book that tee time. I'm seeing there's opening Saturday, there's opening Sundays for tee times this week. Hell, it's beautiful out for the rest of the week. Maybe you're coming in for the Purple Daily Draft Party. You want to play 18 before going to the Fillmore. I see tee times at 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m. at the Meadows at Mystic Lake. If you're coming up from 35E, it's about half hour south of the Twin Cities, so it's on your way. So go to golfthemeadows.com to book that tee time.
And then after your round, you can swing by the grocery store, open that pizza section freezer door, and grab a Pep's Legit Pizza, which is the best frozen pizza on the market right now, according to at least me anyways, and other people who've been sending their pictures now of their legit pizza experiences to me on Twitter. That crunchy crust, stone-baked, cracker-thin, robust sauce, and I like to cut it into squares. Yeah, robust. Dave St. Peter style. Find legit pizzas at a grocery store near you and have an authentic at-home pizza parlor experience. So, all right, Dukes, any other Vikings things, or can we go elsewhere in your scoop bag?
Well, I mean, I guess a little bit. I mean, I was curious on how many Gophers get drafted this week. So did some sort of deep diving on a few guys like Cody Lindenberg. He's going to get drafted in Oka High School, Gophers linebacker. 49ers, Browns, Saints, three teams that have done all sorts of homework on Cody. Ariante Ursary, Gophers left tackle. He'll be the first Gopher off the board. He's another one of those guys that falls. He's not going as high as 10, but he's in that 20, 30, 40, maybe falls to the 50s range, but not a whole lot of separation. Like if he went pick 25 to the Houston Texans, it wouldn't be a shock. But if he went 20 picks later, it wouldn't be a shock. But he did visit Houston. That's why I bring up Houston. He had a bunch of visits, did visit the Vikings, didn't count toward the top 30, also visited the Chiefs, Bengals, Patriots, plus more. But those are some of the teams that Ariante Ursary visited. Danny Strigo, Orono High School, Gophers pass rusher, visit with the Vikings, visit with the LA Chargers, late invite to the Senior Bowl in Mobile going back to January. Showed a little bit down in Mobile, certainly has a chance to go day 3. Then guys like Daniel Jackson, Justin Wally. You've got guys, Max Brosmer, does he get picked? Does he not get picked? It should be a good weekend for former Gophers. The Gophers will have a handful of guys drafted. They've done a good job going back years, right? John Michael Schmitz and Tyler Newbin, and go up and down the list of guys that have gone in the top 60 the last few years. The Gophers do a really good job cultivating NFL talent. So was curious on that front. Otherwise, yeah, not a whole lot. I mean, I did find it interesting. Aaron Jones on Monday talking about going to Ghana, spent some time with Brian Asamoah, Jordan Addison there. And so him talking about the trip, Harrison Smith noting, hey, it was easier for me this year compared to this time last year to come back. So when he was contemplating coming back for a 13th season, that was more challenging than trying to figure out if he wanted to come back for a 14th season. Durante Jones still here. Brian Flores still here. Like we discussed this going back to even January, like the immediacy of the playoff loss. A lot of people with those post-game locker room interview, sessions that Harrison did were like, ooh, that sounds like a man that's about to retire. And I think I said all along, I don't know, not so fast, right? And so, not surprised that Harrison is back. But I thought when he wants to flip the switch and be incredibly engaging, he is so darn good. I thought it was a really, really fun session with him at the podium on Monday in Eagan.
Yeah. Hey, on the basketball front, so tonight we get game 2. We'll see what adjustments the Lakers throw at the Timberwolves. On the other side of that trade last night, I spent some time just kind of going through Knicks Twitter. So the Pistons have outplayed the Knicks in both those games at Madison Square Garden.
JB Bickerstaff, baby.
Dude, and then the Pistons in both games have had trouble closing it out, just kind of inexperience. So a couple themes, though. The Pistons snapped a 15-game playoff losing streak. So the Twins' 0-18 streak still alive in the 4 major men's professional sports. It's not alive, but like the record is still alive. But then, Cat played all 12 minutes of the fourth quarter, did not score a point in the last quarter and a half of that game.
Did he take a shot?
Didn't get the ball, didn't take a shot. And
I don't think he took a shot in the fourth quarter.
Some of it is the way the Pistons have defended him. They know the recipe. You put athletic, smaller dudes on him, and commentators and observers think, why doesn't he post those guys up? And I guess I was fascinated by the same frustrations that we have held therapy sessions for years and years about where does Cat go in some of these playoff games. And then you start to point at the coach, right? Like, how do you not call more plays for him? Thibodeau should be fired, but Knicks fans and media were going through the same experience Wolves fans and media did for years and years, every other playoff game with Cat.
It's the roller coaster, right? Watch game 3 in Detroit.
He was great in game 1, by the way.
Cat
He
goes
was
for
incredible.
30-something. Exactly. Right? I mean, you look at his 17-18 playoff games here with the Wolves, like half were really, really good. The other half were train wreck. So I'll bet the rest of this series, it certainly looks like it'll go a minimum of 6, if not 7 games. I bet we'll talk about at least one more good Cat game, but one more horse crap Cat game. Now, I don't think we'll talk again about him not taking a shot in the fourth quarter, so maybe that changes. But yeah, I'm not surprised whatsoever. And on the Wolves-Lakers, Phil, you're right. I mean, what adjustments are made? JJ Redick talking on Monday that they had, I don't even know how you quantify this, but the best practice they've had in a really long time. But you think about Ant had a really good game. We can celebrate the Ant game 1 game, but he still missed 14 shots. Does he miss 14 shots again tonight? Does Julius Randle have another 7 turnovers tonight? Does Rudy Gobert only score 2 points tonight? So there are certain things you can look at because, let's be frank, like the Wolves might generate a bunch of open looks again tonight. I just don't know how you continue to make shots at this clip. Like, that was absurd. The amount of open looks. Hey, credit to them for getting them, but also making them. Like, that just doesn't happen, right? I know these guys are unreal shooters. You just don't make all those shots, though. So at some point, you're not going to make this many shots. But there are certain things the Wolves can continue to do. I still think there's an advantage when it comes to second chance opportunities. Like, you think about the first quarter in game 1, the Lakers had 11 second chance points, and you look at the second and third quarters, the Wolves cleaned that up. I mean, the Lakers only had 3 or 4 second chance points those middle 24 minutes. But I still think this is going to be a long series. Like, I don't think this thing is wrapping up on Sunday. I don't think the Wolves win tonight, win Friday, win Sunday, move on. I still think this series is going to go for a bit.
So, Dukes, who for the Lakers, though, beyond their big 3, and Reeves was not good in game 1, but who for the Lakers emerges, because my biggest thing I keep coming back to is the depth. Like, the Wolves have depth, really good depth. The Lakers have decent players. I'm not saying they're bad, but my question is who not from the big three emerges to beat the Wolves, because the Wolves were assuming that player couldn't beat them.
Yeah, I mean, fair question. I think we need to start with the big three, though. Like, LeBron is going to play better. Austin Reeves is going to play better. I think Dorian Finney-Smith can shoot it a little bit better. I still wonder if there's a bigger role for Dalton Connect.
Yeah.
He just played in the garbage time on Saturday. Is there a bigger role? Maybe it's not even tonight, but at some point this series, the rookie from Tennessee, I think he's a really, really good shot maker. I think you can use him some different ways. I wonder if there's a role for Dalton Connect. I mean, I don't think it's Jared Vanderbilt. And so, yeah, you start talking about the lack of depth. I don't think it's Jackson Hayes. And so, like, how deep are you going? Gabe Vincent? I don't think it's Gabe Vincent. I mean, I think it's LeBron and Austin Reeves just playing a whole lot better. But if you're asking for somebody outside of their big three, like, I wonder about Connect more than anyone.
The thing about LeBron is he has only scored more than 30 points in a playoff game once in the last 5 years. And after the injury, it doesn't look like he's 100%. He's also 40 years old at the end of another season. He's played an additional multiple seasons worth of playoff games in terms of wear and tear. And I think we're all sitting here waiting for, like, the LeBron Hulk up. Okay, he was very pedestrian in game one, but the LeBron Hulk up has not been a thing since he came back from the injury. And this isn't 9 years ago where he's just going to drop 42 points on your head. We'll see what happens, but I don't know, man. Like, he's still a really good player, and I do think there's an uptick. But the Wolves have a lot of answers, and the Lakers might just need crazy historical Luka performances in some of these games, which is also possible.
Yeah, and when I talk about an uptick with LeBron, I'm with you. I'm not expecting 33 tonight from LeBron or on Friday, but something like an efficient 25, shooting above 50% from the field, involving his teammates, getting those open looks, driving, penetrating, kick it out, that some of those shots maybe go in that didn't go in game one. He finishes with something like a triple-double, right? 25 points, 10 assists, 10 rebounds, 2 blocks, and makes, 80% of his free throws. But that's the thing, too. Like, at some point, do the Lakers actually get whistled for a few fouls? Now, I get it overall. They're just not calling. Like, just across the league, they're just not calling as many fouls. But at some point, is one of these guys actually in foul trouble? Maybe that's not an option, but you just wonder when, the Lakers weren't whistled for a foul until midway through the second quarter.
Yeah.
I will say this, though. The one thing is, and I like this a lot, the Wolves play a physical brand. So they are going to get called more, but in the playoffs, that is awesome. Like the Wolves play a brand of basketball, at least they certainly did in game one, that is a great template for the playoffs. And if you send the Lakers to the line a little bit more because of that, I think it's worth the trade-off, because it's the old football thing, right? Like, the Wolves impose their will. From the second quarter on, they imposed their will. So, yes, the Lakers are the media darlings. Yes, the NBA, I'm sure, would like them to advance to help the ratings. All of that being said, though, I'm willing to take a few more fouls in order to set a tone. And for the last 3 quarters of that game on Saturday, guys, I think the Wolves set a big-time tone that did not just come down to scoring. That was important, obviously, but it was also they're willing to abuse people. And the more that you can frustrate Luka, the more I like it.
Yeah, well, and that's where if the Lakers try to counter that, is there a bigger Jared Vanderbilt role? Like, do his minutes go up? But
I'll take my chances.
He's so limited on the offensive end. That's where if you're
Right.
the Wolves, you're like, okay, play Jared Vanderbilt. But yeah, I mean, the Wolves have, Judd, they have the ultimate bully. Is there a bigger bully in terms of physicality than Julius Randle? Like, they have Julius.
The Luka hit was outstanding.
Yeah,
the
I mean,
midcourt,
that's what we're talking
50-yard
about.
line hit.
Yeah. I mean, it was, in the process of trying to make a play, but
Yeah.
I mean, Luka might still be feeling that collision today. Like, Julius Randle, I'm telling you, is the ultimate bully. So we can nitpick all we want, and Julius, has a questionable playoff history, but, we talked about before game one that there was a role for Julius in this series, even with the 7 turnovers on Saturday. There still is because of that. I just don't want him dominating the ball a lot of possessions. If he's got a smaller guy on him, fine. 6-7 seconds, go to the basket or fade away, fine. I just don't want that to be a ton of possessions. But overall, plays like that, yes. Like Julius is going to continue to play 30-something minutes. By the way, he was at practice on Monday. His wife gave birth to their third child recently, but he is good to go tonight.
Dukes, give us a minute or two here of rapid-fire scoops before we
Sure.
part
So
ways.
Dell Demps, third in command in the Wolves front office, was at Portsmouth the other day. So, we talked about the Wolves having, pick 17, pick 32 or 33, 2 picks in the top 35 in June. So Portsmouth, one of these pre-draft invitationals. Dell Demps was there representing the Wolves. The one Twins question that I get more than anything right now, there's actually a few people that care about the Twins is Rocco Baldelli in trouble? I just haven't sensed the Twins are ready to pull the plug, even though we can go back 60 games now. What is it, 19-42? Declan in their last, 61 games? That's a pretty large sample size, but I've not heard any buzz. Now, hey, if the White Sox win today, tomorrow, Thursday, maybe we have a different conversation on Thursday night at the Fillmore. But in this moment, I have not gathered steam that Rocco Baldelli is in any sort of trouble. Long term, sure. Could we be talking about a new Twins manager in 2026? Yeah, I understand that. I completely get that. Pablo Lopez feeling good. Should be back on the mound this weekend against the Angels. Had a nice conversation on Monday. A new Gophers women's basketball player, Briley Glenn, transfer from Kansas State. Started 93 games for the Wildcats. She is comfortable coming off the bench here. I mean, you look at Dawn Plitzelwhite's team, everybody coming back, all those starters coming back next year. So Briley, comfortable coming off the bench. She also visited Wisconsin, Arkansas, and SMU before ultimately deciding on the Gophers. She redshirted last year. She told me she just wasn't in a good space. Just the mental grind, mental health. She just wasn't in a good space last year. So she sat out last year at Kansas State. And so that's why she's now a grad transfer, has one more year of eligibility. But really enjoyed getting to know Briley on Monday.
Darren Doogie Wolfson, everyone, from the 5 Eyewitness News Sports Department. And we'll see you at the Fillmore Thursday night on the Scoop Sofa, Dukes. We're looking forward to
I'll
it, man.
see you on Thursday, and some rumbling. So we know, I mentioned this in mid-March, that XL Energy Center was no longer going to be the name of the arena in downtown St. Paul. X marks the spot, no longer. Some rumblings of let's just say, one of the local casinos having all sorts of interest in taking over the naming rights of the downtown St. Paul arena.
It'll always be the X, though. Someone's going to finally learn when you replace the original after 25 years, you ain't getting credit.
Well, you're not going to
No, I mean, think about Mariucci. Does anybody call it 3M Arena at Mariucci? It's Mariucci.
Staples Center is crypto.com.
Yeah.
Don't call it crypto.com.
It's Staples Center.
It's Staples Center.
You're going to get used to calling it Black Bear Arena, Jackpot Junction Arena.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
Shooting Star
Well,
Arena.
you know what would be the ultimate thing? Is if they are now sponsored or have the name of a casino, but yet we are one of the few states, I believe, in which you can't gamble in the arena on the game, which is what everyone's going to.
Yeah,
which is coming eventually, but yes, in the moment,
eventually.
sure.
I'll be dead
ridiculous.
at this rate.
Yeah, I know. Well, I would have told you 3 years ago we'd be here, so who knows? But eventually, yes, that is coming. I promise. Just might be 5 years, not 2 years.
All right, Dukes.
All right, boys.
We'll see you in a couple days
at the Fillmore.
All right.
Sounds good.
That's a wrap. Nice scoop session there. Minnesota Sports with Mackey and Judd.